What's up, everybody? It's Forrest from Getting Lost in the Forest. If you would like to email me, I'm at gettinglostintheforest@gmail.com. Also at the Darker Side Podcast @gmail.com. And I'm also at ForrestSmithFilms@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Podbean, Spotify, Twitter, all the good stuff. Google Play Music, iTunes. So today, I'm going to get right down to it. We're going to be talking about Jeff Sessions, who announces a religious liberty task force to combat, quote, dangerous secularism.
Let's be frank. A dangerous movement, undetected by many, but real, is now challenging and eroding a great tradition of religious freedom. There can be no doubt. It's no little matter. It must be confronted intellectually and politically and defeated. This past election, and much that has flowed from it, gives us a rare opportunity to arrest these trends and to confront them. Such a reversal will not just be done with electoral victories, however, but by intellectual victories. We've gotten to the point where courts have held that morality cannot be a basis for law, where ministers are fearful to affirm, as they understand it, Holy Writ from the pulpit, and where one group can actively target religious groups by labeling them hate groups. There can be no doubt that we are stronger as a nation because of the contribution of religious people. Every day across America, they feed the hungry, shelter the homeless, educate our young people, care for the sick. They do so not because the government tells them to, but because they want to. They do these things because of their faith. I can assure you that people in Washington have no idea the extent to which our religious community is with the American people in times of birth, death, marriage, divorce, and those kind of situations that are so impactful to human beings. And I believe we need to respect that and affirm it wherever possible.
The Justice Department's latest move is another nod to Christian nationalism by the Trump administration. The Trump administration has consistently championed a narrow view of religious liberty in America, but the Justice Department's latest religious liberty initiative may be the most far-reaching and potentially troubling one yet. On Monday, Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced the creation of a Religious Liberty Task Force that will enforce a 2017 DOJ memo ordering federal agencies to take the broadest possible interpretation of religious liberty when enforcing federal laws. Now, let me repeat that. Ordering federal agencies to take the broadest possible interpretation of religious liberty when enforcing federal laws. I mean, that's unconstitutional and illegal. I mean, don't you guys think? That memo, for example, prohibits the IRS from threatening the tax-exempt status of any religious organization that actively lobbied on behalf of a political candidate, which is not allowed under the Johnson Amendment. In a bold speech delivered at the Justice Department's Religious Liberty Summit, Sessions characterized the task force as a necessary step in facing down the prevailing forces of secularism. A dangerous movement, undetected by many, is now challenged and eroding our great tradition of religious freedom, he said, which must be confronted and defeated. How are religious people of faith oppressed under the law? I don't understand. Is there any laws that are oppressing them, that are not allowing them to get married, to allow to be discriminated against in schools, be evicted from their house? You can even be turned away from a doctor for being gay. I mean, come on. Are you serious right now? No, we should not have religion in government whatsoever. We have religious court cases that have been going on from freedom of religion or freedom from religion since 1879, okay? It's 2018, guys. I mean, aren't we already over this whole religion in government kind of thing. I mean, shouldn't our government be locked up for this? I think so. The task force will be spearheaded by Associate Attorney General Jesse Panuccio and Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legal Policy Beth Williams. The Advocate reports that in 2010, Panuccio as an attorney defended supporters of Proposition 8, a 2008 ballot measure that banned same-sex marriage in California for nearly 5 years. More specific details of the task force's structure and organization have not yet been announced. That is really bad. Proposition 8, seriously? This was 10 years ago. Sessions painted a nightmarish portrait of what he described as a lack of religious liberty protections plaguing American society. We have gotten to the point, he said, continue quote, where courts have held that morality cannot be a basis for law, where ministers are fearful to affirm, as they understand it, holy writ from the pulpit, and where one group can actively target religious groups by labeling them a hate group on the basis of their sincerely held religious beliefs. Well, we do have hate groups in this country that are extreme, that base their hate off of religion towards LGBT, towards blacks, towards Jews. Sorry, I don't mean blacks, I mean people of color. I mean, this is outrageous. I mean, LGBT Americans are still oppressed under the fucking law. And he's going to say this? Like, that makes me angry. Here, Sessions appears to be critiquing groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center, whose broad designation of hate groups has at times proven controversial, for including groups like the Evangelical Christian Family Research Council. Sessions added Americans from a wide variety of backgrounds are concerned about what is changing cultural climate means for the future of religious liberty in this country. How is religious liberty being affected right now? People are still oppressed. I mean, people are angry. They want change. People want basic human rights and protections under the law of their state that they pay their taxes in and work so hard in. While the task force will only enforce the guidelines listed by Religious Liberty Memo, the language in Sessions' speech was as significant as the creation of the task force itself. Using striking rhetoric and the incendiary narrative of culture wars, Sessions characterized America as an implicitly Christian nation under attack from secularists. In so doing, he is continuing a wider pattern of the Trump administration, treating the federal government as a necessary participant in the longevity of Christian America. Now, that's wrong. Having one religious background like Christianity force things on other things that shouldn't have to be enforced for religion in government. In the federal government, in our Constitution, in our Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, all those things in our court cases that back us up since like 1879. I mean, come on. This should not be in our government, guys. Like, wake the fuck up. He's advocating for the kind of Christian nationalism, blending patriotism and evangelical Christianity that the administration has consistently used to legitimize its aims and shore up its evangelical base. Sorry, I can't say that right. Religious liberty definitions have been expanding gradually over the past few years. And I've been saying this to all my friends since like 2011 when the GOP took over, that there's been a lot of religious liberty laws being passed through our government, which is wrong, it's unconstitutional, and it's illegal. How many times can I fucking say that? You cannot in a country oppress minority Americans through a religious type of law if they're paying taxes and working their ass off in America and being a productive citizen of society, a productive American of society. Despite Sessions' statement, religious liberty in America seems to be expanding, of course. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court ruled that a Christian baker had the right to refuse to make a wedding cake for a same-sex couple based on his religious beliefs. Two other significant religious liberty cases, Burwell versus Hobby Lobby in 2014 and Trinity Lutheran versus Comer in 2017, have favored religious organizations. In the former case, the Supreme Court ruled that the evangelical Christian-owned Hobby Lobby had the right to refuse to cover contraceptive care for its employees. While in the latter, it ruled that a Lutheran church could receive state funds to build a playground on its property. That's fucking wrong. With the potential addition of President Trump's nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, to the Supreme Court, the court is expected to increasingly rule in favor of a broad definition of religious liberty. That's illegal, unconstitutional. And guys, you need to wake the F up. This is not good to have these kinds of judges, in our courts. I mean, that practice unconstitutional law. Meanwhile, in May, the DOJ announced a new office to protect religious liberty, an expansive watchdog initiative whose mission was to alert the federal government to any failures of the executive branch to comply with religious liberty protections under the law. At the time, an unnamed White House representative told the Washington Post's Michelle Borstein that it would help the administration worry less about where the church-state barriers are. There is no barriers. There has never been for many years now. Even though we still say that religion is separated from state laws or state, and it's not. It's not separated. It hasn't been, and it's getting worse. And it shouldn't just be the LGBT that need to be speaking up about this. It needs to be our allies. It needs to be anyone who's concerned for this fucking country and the well-beings of our human beings and Americans. After Sessions gave his conference speech, he ceded the floor to Catholic Archbishop Joseph Kurtz, the former head of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, whose previous advocacy work includes lobbying against same-sex marriage and against anti-discrimination policies for LGBTQ workers. Kurtz spoke about the necessity of partnerships between religious institutions and the government, and alluded to the importance of defending, for example, state-funded adoption agencies that turn away prospective LGBTQ parents on religious grounds. There are some who claim that faith-based organizations must give up our convictions when we partner with the government to provide much-needed social services, Kurtz said. But faith-based organizations are some of the most trusted groups within our society, and excluding them makes no sense in a holistic society like ours. Are you serious right now? There's tons of abuse in religious societies. Sessions' vision of religious liberty as fundamentally active and interventionist government support of religious identity seems to be in line with his wider political philosophy. Last month, for example, Sessions used the Bible verse Romans 13 to justify separating migrant families at the U.S.-Mexico border. He used it on the grounds that the verse, part of a letter written by St. Paul, urging an early Christian Roman community not to participate in a political uprising, legitimized absolute submission to our government authority. Now, parenthesizing, Sessions' own religious tradition, the United States Methodist Church, recently formally censored him, calling for an ecclesiastical trial against him for, among other charges, inaccurately publicly representing the Christian faith. I mean, yeah, he should be prosecuted for incorporating religion in our government. The American Civil Liberties Union vociferously condemned the task force, tweeting that the Department of Justice has no, quote, has no business licensing discrimination against LGBT Americans, women, and religious minorities. Ultimately, Sessions promised listeners the task force would restore religious liberty to America, a liberty that he heavily implied was a primarily Christian prerogative. Now, let me tell this to you guys. Religion should not be in government. Religion should not be in government. How else can I fucking say it? Like, oh my God. It's funny because when I was growing up in high school, I was being told that there was nothing schools can do about my bullying for my sexuality because the states didn't have, like states like New Jersey and Massachusetts at the time, did not have laws that included bullying, included sexuality in their bullying policies. Even though when I fought back once in a blue moon to my bullies and defended myself, they played the religious card and said they were religious and that they believed in what they believed in because they were religious, and I attacked them because they were religious and nothing else. I got in trouble when I was in middle school. I also got in trouble when I was in high school for defending myself from constant bullying that I told my school many times that they're bullying me because of me, who I am. And you know what my principal said? In Grafton, Massachusetts. Now hear this. He said that's my fault for coming out when I was forced out of the closet when I was being private about my life, which is a very important part of someone's life, to be honest with you guys. It doesn't seem that big, but it is. Told me it was my fault for my bullying problem. And when I decided to finally defend myself, he put the whole blame on me. And he said that because the state allows religion in our bullying policies, that if I defend myself, I would be the one in trouble, no matter what. So I was bullied in every possible way, guys. I'm not going to get into it. But my life was hell in high school. And my life was hell in middle school in New Jersey. And mainly because the states could do nothing about it because the school boards decided not to take it upon themselves when the states were pretty much enabling this kind of thing to happen. In states down south are still enabling this because sexuality is still not part of a lot of state laws and local laws down south. So I want to know what you guys think about this religious task force. I think it's hilarious because back then, religion was in everything for defense. Everything. You can get in trouble for making fun of someone's religion, like years ago. Now, they're claiming that religion is being oppressed. Religious people are being oppressed under the law, and they're being singled out. Oh, please, come on. People are still getting in trouble for making fun of people who are religious. And there's tons of cases where LGBT are still not, like, there are problems of them being bullied and stuff. A lot of schools are still not taking these problems into their hands, and they're killing themselves. And you can blame the victim all you fucking want for them killing themselves, but it doesn't matter. Schools and everything else need to be doing their part and taking their part in bullying and enforcing federal and state and court law, you know? It's time that we as Americans start speaking up for what's right and wrong. And I, as an LGBT American, as a gay American, I feel like it's now up to our allies in our community. You know, straight people, curious people, open-minded people, anyone. Free-spirited people, doesn't matter. Hippies, all the good fucking people. It's up to all of us to start speaking out about this. I am sick and tired of hearing people saying, I'm not gay, I'm not bi, I'm not trans, it's not my fucking problem. Well, you know what? You need to grow the fuck up, because guess what? If you want this country to be a good country and you don't want to see your friends and family being oppressed and possibly killing themselves because of the lack of help that they're getting from their problems, then you seriously have an issue yourself. You're part of the problem. People need to be more proactive and realize that these issues are getting worse. Okay? Not just gay people. I'm sick and tired of everyone's claiming that this is a gay issue. This isn't a gay issue. This is now a countrywide issue. It's a constitutional issue. It's a DOI issue. It's a Bill of Rights issue. It's a human civil rights issue with Americans, hardworking taxpaying Americans, who are still pretty much being kicked while they're already down. Now, I haven't gotten this extreme in my rants, but this really set me off. Coming from someone who has been bullied all his life and told by his school boards that there's nothing they can do about it, or it's your fault for being bullied or being out or being open about your sexuality when I wasn't at all. So, I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Is this constitutional? Do you guys think this shouldn't be happening? What do we need to do to try to stop this from going any further? Because I feel like there's something we can all do. We all need to start doing in order for this to not go any forward anymore before things get really, really bad. Because I'm telling you guys, if the LGBT starts to riot, starts to decide to revolt, any American and government official who is against LGBT Americans is going to get hurt very badly, because things aren't going to be pretty. Trust me, gay people and LGBT, they can fucking fight. I'm telling you now. And this is not a war that you want to be against us with, just to let you guys know. There's a revolution that's coming, possibly a revolt. Who knows, but it's coming, whether you guys like it or not. And please let me know about this, guys. I'm upset. You guys should all be too. And if you're not, then, and you say that it's a problem with the LGBT community that needs to be worked out with just the LGBT community, then you're part of the problem. And you really need to start doing some research and start being a little bit more worried about this country as a whole. So, love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.
And so I began to feel myself doing less, and thinking less, and feeling less.
Yeah.
If you told me that I have to be depressed for the next month, I would say as long as I know it'll be over in November, I can do it. But if you said to me, you have to have acute anxiety for the next month, I would rather slit my wrist than do it.
Yeah. I have these thoughts on my brain, negative restraints. I try to refrain from being detained. I think I'm going insane. I hop into the puddle of pain, turtled with a broken name. As the rain breaks me down like a game, replaced like a clone. How people claim Gucci Mane. didn't change. All my life I smoked and drank. All of these toxins, I still have nightmares. I can't clear out the fear, I am really exhausted. I am distanced from the familiar plane of existence. I can't look back now, that's past tense. Go back to the smell of sulfur on the matchsticks. Memories are both poisonous and delicious, yet we still miss it. I crave anything that kills me, and that's a bad decision. Drink until I pass out, entering a dark dimension. Hello to my feet because I see no pigeons. Riding through the clouds in a cryptic message. Directed and switched from my path and my mind twisted. I used to come out with the heat, but my soul's frigid. I had my eyes on the prize, but my vision squinted. Nobody cares about the money, cars, or the bitches you were given. Find your connection like you're outlet driven. Be the plug like to a television. The words I'm using will not be wasted. Absorb them until your mind vibrated. Mumble rap is outdated. It's time I view all attention. The lo-fi classic, keeping this shit tight like hair that's been braided. The world is not for everyone, it's hard-rated. The planet has restriction, clouded judgment, RX rating with the medical reason. It's a toxic city, you should question the oxygen that we breathe in. Children today rebel to raise hell. Parents gave up because they're based in ignorant ways like Thanksgiving with the family. It's hard to be a mother or father figure these days. Children dispatched from you with loose ordering, guidance and responsibility. Should be guided towards the same lane. I've been looking around for somebody, but it's just me. Nobody's there until you have a throne. Money on my mind, but there's no wealth in my bones. Besides the money I spend on alcohol, so I don't feel so much alone or empty. If I keep this up, I may be close to being buried. I should hire a maid, my brains look a little messy. You don't wanna be like me, I'm unhealthy, my sanity is melting.